We made it into Tajikistan.
In the middle of Central Asia, landlocked between China and Afghanistan, there's a place that was practically off limits to most people for decades: Tajikistan.
I don't think many foreigners are crossing here.
For years, the former Soviet country was destabilized by a civil war that claimed tens of thousands of lives and was followed by hunger crisis and water shortages.
Tajikistan is the poorest country here in Central Asia.
Its current president, Emomali Rahmon, holds the title Leader of the Nation, granting him immunity and making him Tajikistan's leader for life.
The people here probably have never seen a foreigner walking through the hardware market here.
Today, Tajikistan is a country scarred by corruption, with many people living on a few dollars a day under an authoritarian regime. And that's exactly where I'm traveling to today.
Welcome to the Marshrutka station here in Tashkent. The first step is we have to find a Marshrutka that will bring me into Tajikistan, and I'd say let's ask around. I already got some snacks for the way. Whatever this is, I have no idea. And now let's find someone to bring me there. Tajikistan. Tajikistan, Khujand. Marshrutka Khujand. Oybek. Boss. Spasiba. So I think we have to get a bus, not a marshrutka. So the exact border crossing I want to take is Oybek. And from my research, there should be either marshrutkas or shared taxis. It is very chaotic here. There's also a bazaar. Hi, excuse me. Oybek, marshrutka, Oybek.
Oybek?
Taxi.
1 minute.
She's going to Tajikistan. Khujand is
Khujand, yes, Khujand. Okay. So, first step is done. I'm in a car in a shared taxi to the border. From there we're gonna see. So we're at the border now, and now we're gonna cross. We're gonna need our passport. The lady here behind me that I shared the taxi with, she's also gonna cross, and she's kind of helping me a little bit, because I think it's definitely helpful to have a local here, because I don't think many foreigners are crossing here. There's not really like buses or even marshrutkas going. Really, like you have to take a shared taxi, and it's gonna be the same on the other side. So on the other side, we're gonna have to take another taxi. But no, I think we're gonna cross. And I have no idea how strict border control is here. If there's anything they're looking for on our phones, if it's corrupt. I have literally no idea, because there is like not much information about this border crossing here online anywhere. So, fingers crossed that everything goes fine. And I'm gonna see you guys in Tajikistan. We made it into Tajikistan, and the taxi drivers already want to scam us, but my local friend is helping me, or is she scamming me? I am actually not sure, because there's a lot of language barriers, but I'm hoping for the first. There are a lot of language barriers, because she's translating everything into Russian for me and not into German. I think there's some confusion about the letters we're using. So there's my local friend. I have to stick with her because everyone's trying to scam me, and I think she got a driver for a good price. Oh my god. The thing is, I think because she's with us, it's a very bad price. And I also feel like bad because now everyone's trying to scam her too. There is so much stuff going on. I'm happy to pay for her. I just don't know anything that's going on. By the way, I pay. You need it. I pay. Okay, I just tried to tell her that I'm gonna pay for this ride for the both of us. I don't want her to get scammed too. She's super nice. And like everyone's starting to yell at her too. She's like really standing up for herself against all these men that are yelling at her. The other thing is also, it could be my kidnapping that is being discussed right here. I guess I'll never find out until I get in a car. Wow, she's a real legend. Thank you. She's a real legend. She got a price for 40 instead of 200.
After some really heated discussions with the taxi drivers, I was finally in the car and at a much better price than I would have ever been able to get as a foreigner.
I did make it to the hotel after an hour of taxi ride-ish. And now I have to rest a little bit. I'm so exhausted from this. And tomorrow we're gonna explore what was supposedly Lenin's favorite city, Leninabad, Khujand. Until tomorrow. Welcome to our first day here in Khujand, formerly known as Leninabad during Soviet times. This is probably a place where not many foreigners think of ever visiting. Most people probably don't even know this place exists. It is a very, very interesting country. The border crossing yesterday was surprisingly easy, I have to say. I expected it to be a bit harder with corruption, with language barriers. But this lady yesterday was so sweet. She helped me with everything. I don't know how this border crossing would have gone without her. I'm really so thankful. And now today we're gonna have a look around the city. I'm here in front of a Soviet theater, Stalinist architecture. There are some buildings left over from Soviet times, but in general we see a lot of different kinds of histories here in the city. For example, over there's a fortress left over from Alexander the Great, I think, or at least in there we have statues of Alexander the Great, who also was here like a long time before the Soviets were here. And now we're gonna have a look around the city. You might hear these announcements in the back. I'm not exactly sure what they're talking about. I think it is probably government announcements. It is interestingly forbidden to have loudspeakers with religious announcements here, because religion is, I don't want to say it's suppressed, but the current president does a lot to prevent the same thing happening here that is happening in Afghanistan with the Taliban, because there have been a lot of Islamist extremists. After the Soviet Union fell in 1991, the country entered a civil war for a long time. A lot of people lost their lives during this civil war. Nowadays the country is way more stable, though Tajikistan does face a lot of problems. There have been hunger crises, there have been water crises in the past years, when foreign countries and especially the EU had to step in to help them out to provide waterways. There is a lot of water in the country. They have a lot of mountains and like a big lake, though transporting this water to the city is the issue, because a lot of water was lost, from my understanding, on the way. I think it is better now, though right now we have a lot of water crisis everywhere here in the region. Like Afghanistan is running out of water, Pakistan is running out of water. I'm not sure how the current situation is today here in Tajikistan. Khujand is also the city with the tallest Lenin statue nowadays here in Central Asia. That's what we're gonna try to find. It is so windy right here, and we're trying to get over to the other side to find the Lenin statue. This cable car over there is quite new from my understanding, though it's not running right now. And also, it's basically going nowhere from my understanding.
Technically, it does cross the river, which is nice, I guess. Not sure who needs it though, other than the company that got the contract.
I think after finding the Lenin statue, my next goal is to find like some local attire. Literally wearing the most baggy t-shirt that I own with the most baggy sports pants I own. But I think it's been like 10 cars honking at me just by crossing this bridge. So it's goal number 2 for today, find appropriate attire. That's what I've been talking about, that's the leakage problem. That's why there's like a water shortage. The water doesn't get to where it should be. All the water is lost on the way. Though I think this big river down there that we just crossed is probably artificial. I guess that solved the problem, I hope. I really hope so for the people here. Because Tajikistan is the poorest country here in Central Asia. Again. Here we arrived to the central square. And up there where we have this dude standing, some sort of national hero, I guess, that is likely where we used to have the Lenin statue, because after all, this city used to be called Leninabad. And according to legend, it might have been Lenin's favorite city. It might have. I doubt it, but it might have. Let's start with this mosaic over here. Here in the middle we can see the flag of Tajikistan, and you might notice that it looks really similar to the Persian flag, because people here are actually ethnically Persian. And also, very interesting, the level of Russian is not very high. Most people here speak Tajik, and especially young people, they don't really know Russian anymore. You can see this whole square is built like a terrace, and after every staircase we have a new mosaic showcasing the history of this country. So let's explore together. And over here we see one of my favorite persons. Here we have him, Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, right here in this beautiful Soviet mosaic. This is really beautifully preserved. Look at this is absolutely gorgeous. It might or might not be Yuri Gagarin, it could be really any cosmonaut, but it's a pretty cool mosaic. The higher we get, the more modern these mosaics get. These here, for example, are not from Soviet times. They look way too modern, displaying a lot of Islamic art, but they've probably been not in the best shape, and maybe it wasn't possible to preserve them, so they just made new mosaics, which is totally understandable. And right here we have the national hero, and right here behind the square you see all of these like structures, these unfinished buildings. There are a lot of them here in Khujand. Now I'm on my way to the Lenin statue because, unlike a lot of other countries here in Central Asia, Tajikistan did not destroy its really tall Lenin statue. They just moved it outside of the city center, and that's what we're gonna try to find now. This here is like some sort of stadium, and I think there's like some game going on in there right now. And we have to go somewhere over there. Yeah, we have more construction sites there. Wow, look there in the distance, that's crazy. There's like so many of these unfinished buildings everywhere. This country really is so extremely different to the other Central Asian countries we've visited before. This down here is where they race their horses, their race horses. Though I don't really know, like the Lenin should be somewhere over there. How do we get there? I feel like I'm landed in some sort of construction site. So all these constructions over there don't necessarily look new. I don't know if they're actively being built or the company went bankrupt, if it was like some corruption project. No idea. Okay, I literally don't have any idea where I am down here. But I get the feeling I shouldn't be here. It feels like the local hardware market where you can buy appliances. The people here probably have never seen a foreigner walking through the hardware market here. The amount of stares I'm getting definitely rivals my time in very remote areas in China. We're back on the main road. It was an interesting site tour. I think we made it to the park because look who I see all the way over there. Let's have a look, let's go down. I actually have to be really careful to not fall down these stairs because they're pretty broken. But people here do not have much and they also don't make much money. And the biggest economic sector, if you want to call it like that, is actually people moving abroad and working abroad and sending money back home. And this money they make in Russia, for example, can support their whole family living here in Tajikistan, which is crazy. I mean, right now so that Russia also has a lot of economic issues, I think a lot of people here look for other countries to work in. And look what we have here. We have some memorial up here. Let's see what that is for. 79 to 89. That memorial here is for the Afghanistan war. And over here we have, very, very lonely, we have an amusement park ride. I don't know if this one would run at night. Certainly not right now during the day because it is really hot. The sun is brutal, but maybe at night. And down this alleyway, I think that's where we're gonna find Lenin. And that's what I really want to see, so let's head down there. And my guess is that all these portraits, all these people here on the side are probably heroes from Khujand that fought in the Great Patriotic War. Like some sort of national heroes is my guess. And up here we have him, Lenin. And one very interesting fact about this country is that the majority of people after the Soviet Union fell, they actually didn't want to leave the Soviet Union. Over 90% of the population actually voted to stay within the Soviet Union. Well, obviously that wasn't possible, but I'm starting to think if it might have been better for the people here in Tajikistan if the USSR didn't fall, because looking around, like you can definitely see there is not much money in this country. And once you go to the countryside, this will become even more prevalent. But let's have another look at this beautiful Lenin statue with this huge hammer and sickle down here. I also think we probably reached the end of the center. There's like a very old bus. Not sure, it looks like it is transformed to a home. Maybe someone's living in there. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, I think there's not much more going on here behind me. Today we explored Tajikistan's second biggest city, and yeah, it was really interesting. For my next video, I have a very interesting plan, because if you look at the border between Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan, you see a lot of dotted lines. And that is because there are actually a lot of Tajik enclaves located within Kyrgyzstan. And my goal is to make my way down to one of those enclaves and see what life is like there. So I hope to see you again to my next adventure next week. Until then, bye bye.